Doppelganger diplomacy, evolution of Russia's socio-technical disinformation tactics. The Internet age has brought about profound connectivity and access to information, but it has also enabled sophisticated new tactics for covert propaganda and mass deception. State actors like Russia have developed expansive infrastructures to secretly manipulate public discourse and perspectives online in alignment with their geopolitical interests. By weaponizing social media, generating falsified content, and exploiting human biases, countries can covertly erode information integrity without directly resorting to censorship. This research analyzes major Russian entities at the forefront of technologically enabled disinformation campaigns targeting democratic institutions and society. It encompasses key groups like Social Design Agency, Sociotechnical Technologies, and the elaborate multi-platform operation dubbed Doppelganger. The consistent objectives are to weaken adversaries like Ukraine, divide Western opinion, foster social tensions, and broadly enable narratives favorable to Moscow through online deception rather than factual evidence or ethical persuasion. The following sections provide an overview of the organizational structure and tactics employed in covert Russian propaganda operations involving key leaders, private companies, and political allies. The analysis outlines the real-world implications of weaponized disinformation and draws insights around future challenges for online information integrity posed by adversarial global actors exploiting emerging technologies. Understanding modern political warfare tactics centered on advanced mass deception is crucial to developing effective societal resiliencies. Social Design Agency campaigns. Social Design Agency is a Russian IT company that serves as a critical arm of the Kremlin's global disinformation apparatus. It has close ties to President Putin's administration and works closely with political leadership to carry out propaganda campaigns that covertly promote Russian strategic interests. The company is led by Ilya Gambashts, a key political consultant who coordinates media manipulation efforts to align with Moscow's geopolitical priorities. Social Design Agency relies on advanced deception tactics to disguise the Russian origin of its influence campaigns. These include utilizing fake news websites, social media accounts that impersonate legitimate organizations, and generative AI to create falsified content. The company aims to exploit human psychology and digital vulnerabilities to subtly shift narratives rather than spread obvious propaganda. Major covert propaganda operations orchestrated by the company include the Russian-led RNN media network and Doppelganger influence campaign. Both relied on elaborate fake websites and content to promote pro-Kremlin perspectives. Doppelganger specifically impersonated news organizations in Europe and North America to gain more credibility. The operations directed by Social Design Agency have enabled Moscow to effectively spread fabricated narratives that erode integrity institutions and divide society. Although platforms try removing accounts and content related to the campaigns, the technologically advanced and adaptive nature of the tactics makes the covert propaganda extremely difficult to systematically address. 2. Sociotechnical Technologies campaigns. Sociotechnical Technologies is an IT company tied to the Kremlin that carries out state-sponsored disinformation efforts. Headed by Nikolai Tupykin, Structura works closely with political leadership to wage technological propaganda campaigns aimed at advancing Moscow's global interests. The firm focuses heavily on driving narratives regarding Russia's war on Ukraine. Structura relies on sophisticated methods of deception to disguise propaganda. These include deepfakes, spoofed news websites, computational propaganda bots, and hacked accounts to artificially boost narratives. The advanced technological capabilities and funding enable highly targeted, adaptive media manipulation initiatives across communication channels. Structura has played central roles in major Russian influence efforts like the Doppelganger campaign, RNN media network, and the earlier secondary infection campaign. The operations have aimed to covertly polarize discourse on the Ukraine invasion, US policies, NATO, and other topics to align with the Kremlin's agenda through fabricated news and falsified evidence. By technologically concealing attribution, Struktura's disinformation tactics have succeeded in manipulating public discourse and perceptions on critical issues. The ongoing adaptation of propaganda to exploit societal divisions while evading systematic detection continues to undermine information integrity and trust in media institutions. 3. Doppelganger campaign. Doppelganger is an elaborate Russian disinformation operation that emerged around May 2022 and was uncovered by the EU Disinfo Lab several months later. The advanced campaign relies on false websites and content to covertly spread fabricated narratives aligned with Moscow's strategic interests. The operation utilizes sophisticated tactics like spoofed websites mimicking major news outlets, computational propaganda, manipulated images/videos, and hacked/fake social media accounts to artificially amplify narratives. This technological deception exploits human biases and vulnerabilities in the information ecosystem. Doppelganger demonstrates the adaptive nature of modern propaganda with its manipulation of generative AI to create falsified content aligned with Kremlin interests. The technology allows mass production of highly realistic fake media showing events that never occurred to shift perspectives and sow uncertainty. The information manipulation has focused heavily on weakening Western support for Ukraine but has also exploited regional conflicts like the Israel-Hamas war to promote chaos. More recently, Doppelganger targeted politically divisive issues in France and the US regarding LGBTQ policies and immigration using sophisticated impersonation tactics. Although major platforms have taken action against Doppelganger assets after being exposed, the technologically advanced and evolving nature of its socio-technical methods continues enabling wide-reaching, difficult-to-attribute information manipulation advantages for Russia globally. 4. Overarching themes and implications. The propaganda campaigns driven by groups like Social Design Agency and Struktura demonstrate a reliable focus on narratives that promote Russian strategic objectives. This includes weakening Ukraine's international backing, undermining trust in media institutions, fostering social divisions, and generally enabling an environment conducive to Moscow's global agenda. The sophisticated socio-technical tactics employed blend manipulated digital content, data-driven targeting, and weaponization of sensitive social issues. This reflects an intimate understanding of human biases and vulnerabilities in the modern information landscape. The manipulation technology and techniques will only grow more advanced over time. The expansive scope and impact of these propaganda efforts rely on close cooperation between political leadership and private companies that enable the technological capacity and operational coordination for information manipulation at scale. This poses an opaque and complex adversary to civil society integrity worldwide. The ultimate consequence of the ongoing, adaptable disinformation apparatus is the slow erosion of informational integrity and trust in media institutions, which are pillars of a healthy democracy. The reliance on advanced deception tactics makes even a forewarned public vulnerable to narrative influence and societal fragmentation. Conclusion? The far-reaching Russian disinformation apparatus outlined in this analysis exemplifies how technology and techniques of deception can be weaponized to covertly manipulate public discourse on a global scale. Major entities like Social Design Agency and Struktura National Technologies act as critical arms of the Kremlin propaganda machine, relying on sophisticated socio-technical tactics to disguise state-sponsored attempts to erode information integrity and trust in media institutions. Operations like Doppelganger demonstrate the adaptive nature of modern disinformation through the incorporation of advanced AI-generated fake content, computational propaganda, visual impersonation, and hacked platforms. The ongoing technical evolution of tactics poses persistent informational vulnerability even to forewarned audiences. Ultimately, The consistent strategic alignment of fabricated narratives promoted by Russian entities reflects an intricate infrastructure for hiding the invisible hand of political interests through online deception rather than factual evidence and ethical persuasion. Countering disinformation without compromising civil liberties presents an immense challenge for democratic states and digital platforms. But policy responses emphasizing transparency, media literacy, attribution, and industry collaboration provide a crucial starting point. The information manipulation threat also underscores the need for robust systemic resiliency through diversity of voices and perspectives among both media institutions and the wider public discourse. With technology continuously expanding capacities for mass deception, sustaining truth and accountability has become the foundation of collective liberty in the modern age.